Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Marion Chapman. Today I want to break down one of the compositions of Shirley Trevena's paintings. I've chosen the painting that has pears as the main subject. I want to do a basic flip through of this book, and it's completely beautiful. And Shirley Trevena is such a gifted artist. So I'm going to take one of her paintings and talk about its composition. Because in the book, this is something that Shirley Trevena doesn't really do for you. She doesn't really give you great compositional tips and tricks. So let's break down one of her paintings, look at the basic elements, and I'm going to take that, and then that's how I started to build this painting. I'm just finishing off now with a tiny bit of thick gold. Not that Shirley Trevena uses gold, but I decided I needed the pears to pop a little bit more. So this is something that you can do with any painting that you love. You can break down the composition, or you can copy it. That's another thing that you can do with a painting that you love if you want to learn about it. But I find that a little bit tedious sometimes. So what I love to do is break down the elements of the composition and use the elements of the composition to create something that is inspired by one of Shirley Trevena's paintings. Here's the final work. I'm going to start by flipping through the book. It's a beautiful hardcover, and it's called Breaking the Rules of Watercolour. I'm going to do lots of flicking through as I give you a bit of a rundown of what she talks about in the book. She's got a section on shapes and finding shapes. She's got a section on her thumbnails, but I don't really find it gives you enough information. She does have lots of tips about her colours, though. Really fascinating when you read that. Here's the beginning of the pears. So she uses pears multiple times, and there's the object that you'll see later, and she recommends you use objects that you know and love, because that makes the painting more interesting for you. So that's one of the things I've done with my painting. I've used the pears, which I already love pears anyway, I eat them as well. And then I've included a knife that I use all the time, a chopping board that I'm super familiar with, and then for my floral additions, these are florals that I own and love. They're dried flowers. Going for green. I love this chapter on all the different ways to make marks. She's got some amazing, look at this abstract landscape. I absolutely love that one. Breaking the rules of perspective. That is something that she does all the time, but she does it in the most glorious way. It's just quite fascinating. So this is the painting that's on the front of the book, and what I also find quite fascinating is that I've chosen many of the colours that are on the front of the book, and I love this painting, and I did that without thinking. I'm going to say that Shirley Trevena loves purple and blue, and so do I, and that's how that happened. Mind you, her use of red, look at this blanket she includes. She does that a lot, includes blankets. I'm just going to continue to quickly turn all of the pages. This chapter is called Never Use Black, and that's hilarious because she uses it all the time. And that's one of the ways that she breaks the rules. Section here on chairs, that's quite interesting. And then the picture of the actual chair that she uses in her paintings. And that chair appears in multiple paintings. I'm going to just keep flicking right to the end, because there's a bit at the end that I think is fabulous. And visual surprises. That's why she recommends that you include some objects that you love, to include some visual surprises. I'm going to finish off with this chapter before I start showing you all about her composition. And this is called Why Is There a Shoe? And then she's shows you how she incorporates shoes in her paintings. And she starts off by saying that sometimes she goes out and buys shoes because she knows that they will create such a wonderful, interesting element in one of her paintings. Is that the best reason for an artist to buy a pair of shoes. I'm going to start now by talking about her composition. I'm going to start actually with this beautiful one on the back. Again, it's pears, and this is something that Shirley Trevena seems to do a lot, and this is to have a guiding element to lead you in, repeat, 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 and she does this a lot in her paintings. And then she's got a cup and a cup, and so she goes repeat, repeat, and then we come up here, and the pear changes to an apple, but the shape is incredibly similar. Repeat, 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 and this is the way she leads you in. So I attempted that in my version here. I'm just going to put it so you can see it. I tipped a pear on the side to try and lead you in and lead you up to here and lead you in further into my painting. That's the detailed photo, which is so beautiful just on its own. I think that composition on its own is rather lovely. That doesn't always work with details of people's paintings. I'm just going to flick over. Right. Okay, one of the key things that Shirley Trevena does is repeat an object. And I can't say that enough, but she just does. So we've got the pear shape repeated here, 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 and here. And then the shapes are, every single one is a little bit different, and every single one is also gathered together in some way. So we've got orange, 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 and she sprinkled it on, I don't know, was that possibly some shaved watercolour pencil? I love that method. She doesn't tell you that in this book. She's also got this beautiful use of orange here, and see how that ties that together. So she ties things together with colour as well as shape. So this takes you up this far, but then she switches colour completely into this beautiful grey. And I realised by the end of my painting, I'll just bring it over here, that I had completely overdone the background. So you'll see me at the very, very end whitewash my background to try and push it back into the grey zone, which is what her background does here. The grey, and any sort of beautiful complementary grey, is wonderful at making the colours sing. Just going back to her composition again. So we've got these elements guiding us in beautifully. She's got this element, this tall shape, repeated many times here, 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 even with the rabbit, and then this, it's repeated here, and then it's even repeated in the background. You could probably find even more, but repetition of a shape and a colour is something that she does just so beautifully, but every single time she repeats the shape, it's a little bit different. So she's repeating it, but she's making it incredibly interesting. So now I'd like to jump into the way that I started my painting, taking inspiration from this beautiful painting by Shirley Trevena. Here goes. It's a block, and I'm starting with collage. So this will mean that I won't have to tape down my paper, and I'm going to begin by putting these pear shapes onto my page. Now, to go back to her composition, we've got a pear, pear, pear. This one's kind of tipping, and there are spaces, but there's a shape that joins them all together as well. That's very interesting. Shading all over that. And then this one, touch, 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 touch. They all, in that series there, touches as it leads you up. These stalks face this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. I think that's a wonderful way that she's drawing our eye into the composition, and the pears are kind of pointing that way too, so I might need to do a little bit of that. Work out what might look good. I'll probably have to dispose of some. That's quite nice, just playing with it. That's the beauty of playing with bits of collage you've chopped out. This looks a little bit like a person rather than a pear, so I think I'll toss that one at the moment. This one doesn't look much like a pear either. This one is wonderful. I love this one. This pear is very, very cool, but unfortunately it's over on this side. Does that work as nicely to bring your eye in? That was a bit unlucky. So I wonder whether or not I might, yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll cut off the side of this one straight as I can, and put it there. Yes, which means I don't need this one. Or maybe it could go up there. Then I've lost the bottom of it. Yeah, right, toss that one. I really liked it, but I'm going to toss it. That one, this, oh, that's quite nice, tipping inwards. That's another way in which she's bringing you, it's another compositional method where you bring your eye in by tipping it inwards. So should I connect that one to that one? For example, should I bring that down like that? Yep, that's quite lovely. She has actually painted a section to join them up, so I'll keep that in mind. And okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I will do stalks later for those, so I'm just going to keep them there while I think about what other ways I can repeat this beautiful shape. So she introduces flowers and she introduces circles. So the circles that she's introduced are these pairs sitting on a plate that disappears magically. So if I could just go for the circle that she's using, just push that one aside and draw a circle as though they are on a plate. Or what she's got them on is a pedestal, so like a cake plate that's on a foot. So do I go with that idea? Or I think I should do something that's more about my idea. So I have with me a knife and a platter. So this is a great straight shape with a beautiful curve. That's quite nice because that's like my pear shape. This is the handle of my cutting board, and that's quite nice too. It's got a round here, a round there. And if I introduce this shape, and let's pretend that my pears are sitting on this board, I might reduce the shape of the board and, yeah, okay. I'm going to commit. I'm going to say that my pears are sitting on a board. So we've got this round, and it comes around and around, and here and here. Oh, look, it's got little dots. That's the brilliance of using an actual object. You find little interesting things. Now I'm going to turn those little dots into little pear kind of shapes. It's such a beautiful shape. This is insanely sharp. I'm going to try not to hurt myself. Now the knife. Should I draw it like that? Should I make the knife be a beautiful upright shape? I do need something to draw your eye in my design up higher. So I could introduce it up there, or I could start to introduce some lovely shapes down here, or perhaps what it will be is a beautiful horizontal. That touches that shape and that touches that shape. That's quite nice. And that's what she does a lot of. When she paints something, she makes every single one different. For example, when she's painted the pears, each one is a little bit different. Some of them half there, this one has no top on it, this has no bottom, this has no bottom, this has a dark top, this has almost no top. Every single one is just a little bit different. So I'm going to try really hard to keep that in mind when I paint these little dashes. Got nice ways of bringing the viewer in with a shape, with the knife, and then I've got this big fat shape that's kind of repeating the shape of the pear, kind of. That's all right. I've got this lovely straight shape. So I'd like to repeat this straight shape in another way. So do I put in another knife? I'd like something that takes the design right off the top. Yeah, okay. I think that's quite lovely. And I'm going to make it go off the top so it comes down. And there are these little plastic feet. So I think what I might include up here are some beautiful leaf shapes, and I'm not being overly original there. I really am thinking about this beautiful negatively painted flowers she's got here. So I went searching for an ornament, and I didn't find an ornament that I thought would work nicely in here, but I did find this fabulous piece of dried flower. They're tall, so they're going to give me this length that I'm after. The colour is actually completely beautiful with the blue, but that's happy accident. And I think that I will include some of these. I'm going to put them in quite generally, not specifically. And when I come later to draw and paint over them, because that's what Shirley does, lots of drawing and painting over existing shapes, that's when I'll bring this out again, and I will put more detail in. Then I'm going to make sure one goes right over there. Because she does such a lot of beautiful negative painting, I'm going to use masking fluid. I love masking fluid. I think it's this beautiful way of preserving colours on the page sometimes, or preserving the white of the paper. And I think what I'll do is start by preserving the white of the paper, then I'll do a bit of a pour of colour over it, and then I mask in some more of those beautiful shapes. That will hopefully give me some of this beautiful background textures that she's got going. So when you go through the book, you'll see that the way that she builds is by section upon section upon section. She shows you that in the book, the way that she builds. And she sometimes builds from the focal point out. If you're doing this exercise with me, I recommend taking a photo if you're really happy with the arrangement of your pairs or your objects, whatever object it is you're going to repeat in this design. And the reason for that is that in order to put some lovely background down, I need to take this off. So I'm generally taking it off in the order generally that it sits. Welcome back again. My background has dried and my collage pieces are placed back into position. The first thing I'm going to do is re-outline the lines for my cutting board, because they've been lost in my big messy background. And I'm going to do it with a cobalt pencil. And then put a heavy book on it. Actually, it's two heavy books. And then that's how I started to build this painting. I'm just finishing off now with a tiny bit of thick gold